And welcome everybody this afternoon to our county website webinar update. Today, Ann Holtz, myself, and Linda Temple are going to be talking through some of the features of the county websites and how you can best utilize them on your local website and providing content. So I'm going to let Ann take over, and she's going to talk through most of the features of the county website and how the Drupal system works and how you can add content to your website. So Ann, if you want to take over.
All right, thank you, Mike. I'm going to start by sharing my screen. Okay, so the first thing I want to say is that more than half of the county sites have switched over to the new layout, so yay. But there are probably some things that you might have noticed, especially with your menu, that need a little bit of reorganizing after you switch. For starters, after you've switched, the main menu items should be home, your county 4-H, educational programs, and Nebraska Extension. I've been working with several counties that switched, and their navigation kind of blew up a little bit, and so I've been kind of putting them back in this order. But once they're in this order, there's some flexibility that you have. For instance, you can add items underneath of the home. You can add items underneath of your county 4-H page. And these items that you add underneath of home, these are also what displays in the gray box on the home page. And if you were to go to your county 4-H page with the new layout, they display over on the left in the gray box. Okay, so we're going to take a look at, we lost our home button there. Okay. All right. Well, if you don't mind, we'll go ahead and we'll test this on Kimmel. Let me log in. Okay. Now I'll try and speed this up so we get this all in. So the first thing I was going to talk about was, if you haven't switched to the new layout, what you want to do is go to your home page, and then over on the right there's this group tab. Oops, sorry. Over on the right, you want to click the edit tab, and at the very top of the page, it says use new 2016 layout. This one is checked, which means this site has switched to the new layout. When you switch to the new layout, anything that's in this editor body here is no longer going to display on your front page.
And can you share your screen? We're not seeing what you're doing.
Did not get in there. Okay. Thank you. All right, so what I did is I went to the home page and I clicked on the edit tab, and then at the top of the edit screen is this use new 2016 layout. This one is checked, which means it's using the new layout. And when you switch to the new layout, anything that you have in the editor on your home page is no longer going to display. Instead, it's going to be replaced with article feeds. So before you switch, the first thing you'll want to do is have maybe 3 different article pages that are ready to display on your front page. And if you haven't converted your front page over to article pages, there's a video. If you click on this web guide on your top navigation, there's a video that Eric put together back in September, and I think it's probably about maybe 8-9 minutes in. He starts to kind of show an example of how you can take that content that's currently on your homepage and create article pages with it. So if you haven't switched yet, I'd recommend kind of going back through that video again and watching the process to see how that happens. There's also some instructions here to kind of help you with the new features. There's also a link to the help guide that Mike had sent out earlier as well, that's linked to on the extension employee resources. Okay, so let's go back to our page here. So yeah, in order to switch, you check that box. Make sure you have some article pages already created and just click save. I'm going to refresh my page here. And when you do that, a lot of you probably noticed that your navigation changed. Maybe it put some things on there that didn't really belong on there. So the next thing you want to do is kind of clean that up and organize that. And the way you organize your menu here is you click on the group tab, then click on menus. And then next to your site, you'll have this list links. And this page, this shows all the published pages that are on your site. And if you notice, some of them will have a checkbox next to them. These are the pages that display in your menu. And like, for instance, under home, about us, meet the Kimmel team, these are all indented. And so anything that is indented under something displays in the drop-down menu. And we'll just go back and take a look here. So if you go back to the site under home, these are all the items that were indented under home on that menu. They're also the same ones that show up in your gray box on your home page. So I'm going to go back to that menu again. That was the group tab on your home page, menus, list links. So let's say I wanted the volunteer to appear before Meet the Kimmel team in my dropdown. You just click on the move tool, hold it down, and drag. Okay. And when you're done, you need to click the Save Configuration. Now, let's say I don't want Meet the Kimmel team on my menu. So you can take it off the menu simply by unchecking the box and clicking Save Configuration again. I'm not going to do that because Deb probably wants to keep that up there. I'm not going to save this page either, but we'll just back out of here. And let's go back to the home page. Okay. So yeah, and I guess I better go back and show this because this is one of the issues that people have when they switch to their new layout. The 4-H page, and let's see, there isn't a 4-H page on this one, is there? Because it's a district
Ann,
site. Yeah.
the Herbie County one is up and running again. If you want to switch back, yes.
Okay. If no one minds, I'm going to switch back to Herbie County. Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the home page. Oh. I'm going to have to log out and log back in. Sorry. And I'm going to just switch here to someone else's login. You don't need to know this part. This is just something I have access to do. So you can be seeing the same type of menu items. Okay. So here we are. We're back on the home page. I'm going to click group again in menus and list links. And this is what I was trying to talk about a little bit earlier here. When you first switch, and some of you may have this the case even after you switch, you'll probably see two 4-H pages. One of these is your old page, and one of them is the new page that has the article feeds. And the way you can tell which one is which is just by clicking on it. So if I click on this one that's disabled, you can tell this is my old 4-H page. It doesn't tab the calendar down the side of it. It doesn't have the gray box over here. If I just click back and I look at this one, this is my new 4-H page. So it's got the article feed and the calendar and everything. So if you've switched over and on your navigation, you're still seeing your old 4-H page, you're not seeing the one with the article feed, then you can come here and you'll want to turn on your new page, and if your old one is still on, turn that one off and click save. And then you can add your items under the 4-H. You just kind of, I'm gonna move this up here. To indent it, it's just how you move it. So you just move it over to indent it. And these are the ones that show up in the gray box on the page as well as in the drop down on your 4-H page. So if I were to click here, there you can see they're in here. Now there's only 2 in here because only 2 of those were enabled. If enabled isn't checked, it's not going to show up.
Hey,
Okay.
Anne, I have a question. On your drop down menu and things that are indented, the drop down menu is only going to show the first indents, right? Or would they
Right.
show, if you had multiple indentions but had them displayed, would they show up in your drop down menu?
I don't believe that these sites are configured to have those show up.
Okay.
So yeah, it's only going to show that first level like Mike was talking about. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is article pages. So I'm going to go back to the home page. Anything that you want to show up in this feed has to be created as an article page. So if I were to click add content, I would select article. I'm just going to back up here. So there's several articles that have already been created and they put in here, and I wanted to show you this one, the board meeting agenda. If you look at this and then you come down here, it starts to look a little funny. It doesn't really read right. Just everything's just kind of a run-on, and then it throws in this formatting here. It looks a little odd because this is supposed to be an article feed. It should just look like paragraph text. But maybe I don't want to change the content on my page. That's the way my page needs to look. So what you can do is you go to your page, click the edit tab, and then here next to body is this edit summary. And whatever you put in here will be what shows up in your article feed. So in this case, I might put, let's see, view the Herbie County Board agenda for March 1st, 2017. Now, if I go ahead and I save this, you see everything still looks the same on your article page, but if I go back to the home page, now that summary is what shows up in the feed. Okay, now let's say maybe I wanted the board meeting article to show up above the local Herbie Learning Child article. Okay, well, articles are ordered according to the published date. So, I mean, as of now, the only way to really get this above here would be to change the published date. So I'm just going to look at the Learning Child one. I'm going to click edit. I'm going to scroll down to the bottom. And I know I called it a published date, but it's actually under authoring information. And authored on is is the date. And as you see, this article was published on January 5th, 2017. So I'm going to go back to my home page, and I'm going to change this board meeting one so it's newer. So I'm going to click edit, scroll down, click on authoring information, and let's change this to the 6th, January 6th. Okay, so if I go back to my home page, now the board meeting agenda appears before the local Herbie learning child. Okay, so let's say, well, I really wanted this to be at the very top of the page, and I always want it to be up there at least, or at least maybe for the next month, I'd like to keep it at the top of the page. You can make this article sticky at the top of the page. So again, you just click on the article, click edit, scroll down to the bottom, and this time you're going to click on publishing options and check the one that says sticky at the top of the list. And click save. Now if I go back to my home page, here's my board meeting agenda at the top of the page. So suppose this is an old board meeting agenda. We already had our next board meeting. I need to get this off of the front of my page. So again, you just click on your article, click edit, scroll down to the bottom, and under publishing options, you can take off the promoted to front page. Now that's assuming you still want this article to be in your system somewhere, and you're not quite ready to delete it yet. So at least now it's just not displaying on the front page of your site. And now it's gone.
Hey, Anne, we have a question. Is from the summary, can you show bullets or a list?
Let's try it. That's a good question. I don't know that I've ever put any HTML in the summary before, but let's give it a try. Yeah, let's go on ordered list. Oops. Okay. The answer would be no. It does not take HTML. So it's just going to be for like paragraph type text.
Okay, and there's a second question. What about an article page that we use once a year? Can we unpublish as well and not promote to the front page? Yes.
Yeah,
If
absolutely. Yep. Let's go ahead and I want to talk a little bit about the accountability regions. I went through last week or so and assigned everyone to the counties that are within their accountability region. So if you log in, and let's just take an example here. Either if you're adding content or you're editing an article, let's go ahead and edit the Yard and Garden. If there are counties, multiple counties within your accountability region, you're going to see them listed under group audience. So for example, on this Yard and Garden, this might be an article that should actually go in. Let's back up a little bit here. Let me go back to the front page. under your educational programs, Yard and Garden might be a good fit for this community environment. So we're going to go ahead and move it in there. And if you have multiple counties in your accountability region, you can hold down Shift or Control to select all those counties. And then and actually Saline probably doesn't want me actually posting this on their county, so I'm gonna just select Herbie here. Then you would select your community environment. And we're gonna click Save. And now if I go to Educational Programs, Community Environment, I'm gonna see Yard and Garden showing up here. It's always gonna put all your local content above the other content that's always on this page. So, and if I had selected Saline County on their site under educational programs, they would see community environment as well. Now, one thing to remember is that these have to be article pages in order for that to work. You have to be switched to the new layout, and you have to have this educational programs in your navigation. This is another one that when you first switch, I've been going through and moving this so that it's on your navigation with all of these underneath of it. If you're not seeing that, you can get a hold of me and I can do it, or you can go to that menu list where we were before, and you can actually check all these to put them all on the menu and then indent these ones underneath of educational programs.
All right, and there's another question. How can we check out the latest article to hyperlink? In that Yard and Garden one, it says check out the latest article.
Oh, you know, this is just sample text that Eric had put in.
But that would be hyperlinked from that article page, correct?
Yeah, it's just in the article. You can like highlight text in there and click this little link icon, and then you would put the link to the page. So it'd be the full URL in here if you're going to an external site. And it puts the link in there for you. And then you'd of course have to click the save. Okay. One thing about, let me go back to, let's go back to the front page. When you're posting to, you know, all the counties within accountability region, by default, whenever you post an article, it's set to post to the front page. So you might not want to have that still clicked by default, unless you're actually, you know, communicating with the person who's managing the other county site and they're like, yeah, go ahead, we want that on our front page. So you may want to just uncheck that so that it's only showing up under educational programs. Now if I click back to home, it's no longer on the front page. Otherwise, I believe it goes on the front page of all the county sites that you had selected when you posted it. So my recommendation would be not to uncheck that, so it's not going on the front page, unless, you know, you email who's ever managing that site and say, hey, here's an article you might want to put on the front page, you know. But I mean, you'll have to kind of work that out with the sites that you have access to post to. Okay. So I want to show one more thing real quick, and then I will hand it off to Mike. We didn't talk yet about basic pages. A basic page will not show up in the feed. So if you don't want it in the feed, but you want it on your menu and it's content that always kind of needs to be available, it's not timely content, then you'd probably want to use a basic page for that. Here, my About Herbie County page is a basic page. It's got, you know, a picture of the offices, little map, show you which county. Obviously, this is all fake, but just to give you some ideas. On your About page, you might want to link to your impact reports, maybe show some of your impacts. But yeah, so this is a basic page that won't show up in your feed. And pretty much everything that I've showed you on the home page works the same way on your 4-H page. The only difference would be, we're going to go ahead and edit this article here, that you would select 4-H Youth and Development if you want that to show up, if you want that article to show up on your 4-H page feed. You also, if you only want it on 4-H, then you'll need to uncheck that promoted to front page. Otherwise, that article will show up on your front page as well. So, okay. Did we have any questions before I turn it over to Mike?
We just have one about events, but we'll cover that later when Linda's talking about that section.
Okay.
So I will go ahead and I'm going to talk about the featured promo section. All right, so if we're looking at this, the Herbie County page, we're just talking about the splash images that are across the top that have the boxes for text and links in there. This is a section that I use a lot, that we publish articles from the main extension website that then show up in the local pages. Basically, the important thing that I want to remember here is you can only have a max of 5 images sliding through. So if you can have your own 5 at your local county, that means you won't see any of those that are coming from the state website. But if basically you have less than 5, ours will fill in the back to whatever, round out that number. So like right now, the Herbie County website, I think, is only showing, actually I think none. So it's showing all 4 of them that are coming from the state extension website. And then I'm going to go through and show how to add your own featured promos to this section. And so basically from here, we're just going to, I'm actually going to change this so everyone is seeing the same thing that I am. Okay. And we're going to just go add a content, and we're going to add a featured promo, and it brings you up to the screen. And of course, if you have multiple counties that you can publish to, you can select them here. But of course, Saline County might not want what we're doing here today. So we're just going to select Herbie. And basically the biggest thing is we're going to select our photo. The only stipulation is you can only have up to 3 megs, which is quite a large picture. So if you're over that, you can definitely downsize that picture. Normal recommended size would be a max of 1600 pixels wide. And then anything beyond that, it will shrink the horizontal to fit whatever the size of your window is. But if you have a max picture that you're set at 1600, that you have a crop down to, it should be fine. It should be able to upload, no problem. And so the article that I'm just going to go ahead and post is one that I'm going to actually pull from the Acreage website about water. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pull this one, and I just want to grab the link directly to their article that I'm going to drop right down here in the link part, which is going to be where you're actually going to link to the article to. So I'm kind of working backwards across this. And title what you're, and this is going to be the red button that shows up on that splash part. So I'm just going to call it read more, and then adding a title. And then we just need to add a short description that'll go along with it. And then I was just going to grab this little piece here that says it's important to keep water around during a storm. And then basically when you get down here to your options, is the ones you're going to be looking at is under your published options. And it's basically works the same way as the article feed does as well. If it's published, it'll show up. Promoted at the front page, obviously we want that. And then basically you have this option to have a sticky at the top of your list, which basically means every time you refresh your page, this will be the first one that shows up. And so if you want to have one of them as the most prominent or the most recent article, make sure have that be set as your sticky. And then you hit save. Oh, I forgot to add the picture. I'll grab this water bottle and hit upload. Oh, then I was also going to say, I wanted to click this one so you can display your text on the right. So by default, your text box is going to show up towards the left-hand side of the photo. And you can check this box, that'll move it over to the right-hand third. And then this will show up as just the main page of it here, but then you go back to your home page and it'll display there. And so, yep, you can see that it's now over here on the right. You can click in the article to read more, and it'll take you directly to wherever that link is headed. And then the other thing I wanted to mention about this is sometimes I know it is hard to find good photos to use for the splash images. And so I just wanted to give you a couple recommendations for finding free stock photos. Basically, you can look for, if you're looking for something that's free, that's you don't have to put any attribution, no credit is required. You're looking for images that are either under the Creative Commons Zero license or under the public domain. So there's a couple websites that I like to use. The first one is called Pixabay. It is full of stock photos. It has a lot of ag photos as well that you can use, especially if you're looking for something that's a high quality image to use for, especially your splash images where you might not have your own photos. Definitely recommend if you've got your own photos to use, please use them. But we know we don't always have, that's not always the case, that sometimes we're looking for a stock photo. So Pixabay is a really good option. Another one is called Pexels. A very similar website to Pixabay. I've even found some of their photos even overlap for where they're pulling from their sources. So you might find some of the same photos on both these websites, but they're both very good options to use. And the third one is the USDA. If I can. They have the Ag Research Service has a photo gallery. I don't think I got there actually. That you can search for. Basically, all of their photos exist within the public domain. If they don't, they'll tell you right away. But you can search through a lot of their photos that are obviously going to be areas that might be of interest to us. So you can really download any of their photos for free and use them. And they'll tell you, give you a download link right there. So you're welcome to use any of those photos. And also you can search for photos. There's a ton of websites out there that offer photos for free. What I've also found is sometimes the case is it's a free website, but then they have ads everywhere for paid stock photos. So you just have to be careful sometimes when you're wandering around looking for photos to make sure you're not stumbling across something that isn't for free. But these are a couple good ones, and you can also just really do a Google search and set your parameters, which I can show. So say you want to get a photo of agriculture. If you go to your images and hit, I think it's under tools, you can look at usage rights, and you can look at something that's labeled for either reuse with modification, labeled for non-commercial uses, which we are, and then find options. And it's even pulling some from like Pexels. Public domain pictures is another one that's for free. But there's a lot of different options out there if you're looking for free stock photos. All right, and if it's trying to find if I have any questions. All right, if there is none, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna hand it off to Linda.
Okay, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the calendaring system. And I know one of the questions that came in is how do you get the events from the blue box to the green box from your home page? If you, I'm going to show you an example. All of the ones that show up in the green box are 4-H related. So there's a search that goes through your county calendar that pulls anything related to 4-H. So as you start entering your events, make sure you have 4-H somewhere in the title, because that's how it pulls those events for your 4-H county page. Otherwise, everything else will show up like it does on the front page, everything from your calendar. Every county should have their own calendar already set up, and if you don't have access to that calendar and would like access to that, just let me know and I can give you permission to do that. To go in and add an event to your calendar, it's very easy. You can go to the extension home page if you don't know what the address is, and it'll always say up here, Nebraska Extension Events. When you click on that, but if you go in and put in your UNL My Account, that's how you log into the calendaring system. And once you get into this, let's hope it comes up here. It's been pretty slow today. It will show you all of the calendars that you have access to. So you're looking at my calendar, which I have access to all of the counties and a lot of the departments. So all of those are showing up on here. But in most cases, you'll probably just have 1 or 2 calendars. You'll have maybe your personal calendar and then whichever county that you want to work in. When you look at this screen, there's several things that you can do. You can create a new event. You can look at the manager calendar. That's the screen that we're on right now. There's the live calendar, so that you can always go in and look and see what the calendar looks like to the public. And then you can go in also and view, but you probably won't be able to change like the calendar info. That's where we name your calendar. Subscriptions, these are the other calendars that you want to feed into your calendar. So for example, the extension calendar, I'm looking at the ARDC calendar, West Central, 4-H, guardianship, all of those are pulling all of the events into the extension calendar. Once you do that though, if you're pulling in I wouldn't recommend pulling the extension calendar into your county calendar, because then everything will show up on your county calendar, and we only want your county events, or maybe if you have multi-county or regional areas and you want those events to show up on your county calendar, you can. But I would really limit the number of subscriptions that you would put to your calendar. And then there's users and permissions. You can go in and see who has permission to access your calendar, but you won't be able to add a new person. Only I'll be able to do that. But those are some of the menu items that you will have on your calendar. Another thing that, if we go to manage your calendar, we'll just kind of go in and create a new event. But you will have, if you'll see up here, you'll have a pending folder, an upcoming folder, and a past folder. The upcoming is what is already being posted on your calendar. Those are live events. So you can go in and look at those at any time that you want to. And these are all of the events that will show up either on your home page or your 4-H page. If you want to search a calendar, you can always, to find an event, you can click the little hourglass up there, magnifying glass, and type in an event, and it will bring it up. And it doesn't have to be, I was looking for an open house earlier that we put on. So it'll pull up any of those events. So it's a keyword search, so you can search for those. Once you have those events open, this is searching all of the calendars. You can go in then and recommend or move it to upcoming or move it to a pending file if you want to do that. If there is an item that, let me see if I can go into, since these are all posted on my calendar, I need to go into, say, the INR calendar. And there might be some items in here. Pull it up. I'm going to go back into my manage events. And I can recommend an item to another calendar. So I can come in here and let's say I want to put this co-parenting class in Columbus, and I want to recommend it maybe to one of the other calendars or counties. So it's in Columbus, so it's in Platte County. Maybe I would want to recommend it to Polk County. And so I can send a recommendation to that county and say, and it will go to that calendar, and whoever is managing that, if they want to put that item on their county calendar, all they have to do is move it to the upcoming or the posted event. So you can go through any of the calendars, pick an event, and then recommend it either back to your own calendar or to another county calendar. To create a new calendar event, let me cut back in here to extension. We'll just do a test one. Another thing with this recommend screen, if you are not seeing all of the whole long list of calendars, that means that you're probably not set up to be under what we call the INR umbrella. So just contact me and we'll make sure that you get put into that that database. A lot of the county staff, especially if you're new, may not be associated with INR in their system. And so we just need to go in and check that box to make sure that you have access to see all of the calendars under INR. Okay, when you go into to create a new event, you click on that. You can put on your title up here. If you want it to be on your 4-H page as well as your home page or on your overall calendar, make sure that you put 4-H in there because it will pull those events by 4-H. And I'm just going to create a test page. And then you can put a subtitle if you want. A lot of times I will, even in the title, put the location of where it's going to be. So especially on the extension homepage, that's why you'll see a lot of them. I will put like the city that it's going to be in. So I may put North Platte or that way people, especially like if they're looking at crop diagnostic clinics or different field days, they can go in and search for a town or a city and it'll pull up those events a lot easier. And it kind of gives people an idea of where they're located if they're looking for a specific event. But you can then put in any kind of description. And then if it's an activity, an event, a camp, a class, this is another search mechanism too that you can use when you're searching for an event. And so if it's a field day or anything like that, I would highly recommend putting some type of an activity description in there type. The location, this is something that they've kind of changed when they upgraded their calendaring system. They took out a lot of our county locations where we might have had like the county courthouse or the fairgrounds and put a lot of just the UNL on campus addresses. So in order to get your location in there, which may not be at a typical Extension County office, but might be at the fairgrounds or somewhere else, if you scroll down to where it says, let me see, new location, click on that and it'll give you a drop-down menu and you can go in and type in the location and address of where that event is going to be held. Then at the bottom, if this is a place that you're going to use on a regular basis, save this location for future events. And that will save it under your calendar. It won't save it under my calendar. I'll have to type that address in for myself again, but it will save it under your county calendar. So the next time you go in, you can just select that as one of your location choices. And you don't have to fill in everything on here, but make sure you try to at least get the name of the facility, the address, if there's a specific room, but you can add that. A lot of times I will leave that blank. Put in your city, state. If you have a map with a URL or a web page that shows directions on how to get to that location, include that information and a phone number of that location, just in case. You never know. We've had some snowstorms out in the Panhandle and people were trying to get a hold of the facilities to see if they were still having the event. And so try to always include a phone number if you can. Then you need to select your date and your time of your event, which is pretty self-explanatory. If this is a reoccurring event, you can click this button and it'll bring up a menu that you can select the same date, the same week, the same month, or it's the same time every year, and you can put that information in there. Directions, if you have some specific directions or any other content, sometimes under here, under the additional public info, I'll put an agenda, or if there's another supplemental piece of information that they want to have, I'll include that in there. The other place that you would need to always keep it public, because this is for public, and then you can put your contact information or whoever's hosting the event, put their name, phone number, email. If there's a website, include that as well. You can put an image. I don't usually use that, but it's a new feature that they have. So you can put, you know, a logo or a photo or something if you want to include that in your event. Are there any questions as I've gone through kind of the form here with the calendar?
Linda, I guess I have a random question. Would be on that map URL, would that be like a URL, like if you want to say put the Google Map URL or something in there?
Yes.
That would be an appropriate place to use that.
Yes, you could put that there, or if you have, you can even include that even in an event website too, the address with it. But yeah, the map URL would be like your Google coordinates, the URL to the Google coordinates. I know a lot that have put directions, like if there's a field day and they need to get out to a specific farm or ranch, a lot of times they will put the directions in there as well to help people find their locations. But that's basically what the calendar of events is like. So I'll turn it back if there's no questions.
Question from Deb, wanted to know when will all the accountability regions be incorporated into our profiles? Deb, are you talking about on the extension directory page? I'll wait and see if she responds about that. And that might be something, if Angie is still on, that she could maybe help us address. I know we've been working on trying to incorporate the accountability regions more into the website. And I believe right now on the extension directory, if you look at your individual page, there should be a map that shows your accountability region.
So on our EPD directory page, you can look up yourself. If you're looking for a county office today, that area of the website has went down, and we are working on getting that back up. So know that it should be back up soon, but you can look up for individuals there. Your accountability region should show up. If it's not quite right, I'm the one to contact, so we get it updated and fixed. Also, you can look at our accountability region maps. They're at the lower end of the page, and those are all up to date as well. So we keep those up to date as the minute we know, which also brings us to, if you have a staff change or a location change, we have our extension personnel directory change form, and we would appreciate it if you all would use that as we have any changes, because that's the way it triggers for us to track lots of things, not only new employees, but maybe you've gotten a promotion or you know, lots of reasons for that. So, and it's an inter-office thing, so we use it here in the dean's office to update several different files for different reasons.
And Deb, yes, it looks like yours is, you don't have a map on yours, so we will look into that.
Okay.
And we'll be back in touch with you on that.
Okay.
And I know there was a question related to accountability regions, is so for all the educators that are right now already in the UNL CMS system that can edit a website, Anne has gone through and has added you to every county that you are responsible for. I'll show you how you can go in and look. If you're in the system, I'll quickly show you. You can see what counties you're all associated with. So if you're logged into the system here at the top, you can click on this People tab, and it'll show everybody that's associated with that system. So I'm just gonna pick on somebody right now, and it'll show them right now that they're just associated with one, they're Garfield, Loop, and Wheeler. But I'm thinking if I pull one, I know it would have multiple counties. Jenny Reese should have multiple counties. So like for Jenny, she's gonna show she's in Clay, York, and Seward. So if you can go into your profile in Drupal, you can see what counties you're associated with. If there's some that are missing or there's extra ones you don't need, that's something you can easily contact either myself, Linda, or Anne, and we can make those changes. And if you're not in the system and you want to be added to that, that's also something to contact one of us and we can help you get added to the website. If our page has 2 counties, is there a way to put 2 Facebook links on our home page? And I don't think that's possible. Is that correct?
If they're talking the Facebook feed, no, but they could theoretically put a link to their Facebook page in the contact info that's in the footer. So when you edit your home page, on that screen, there's a place you can put your contact info. You could link to your Facebook pages there as well.
And then a question kind of related to the EPD is there still a print copy of the directory available? No, there's not. We stopped doing that a couple years ago for the main reason that it is impossible to keep it up to date. This is something we update the directory almost daily with changes. Either we have new people coming in, people are changing, that it's impossible for us to keep a print copy up to date. Even when we did, the moment we said we hit print on it, it was already out of date. So it's one of those, moving to our online directory keeps us much more current than we ever could be with a print one.
And if you are on the EPD website, there is a print feature where you could print that website page out. It'll be a lot of spacing, but that is an option for you if you need that for some reason. But again, if you print it, it would be out of date probably the minute you print it, just like what Mike was sharing.
All right, and if we'll hang on for just a couple minutes to see if there's any more questions that come in. But otherwise, I think thank you all for joining us and sticking through this webinar with our technical difficulties in the first part. So thank you very much for joining us today. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact any of us. We'll be happy to answer questions. And yes, we're being recorded and we'll probably get that sent out yet this afternoon. And we'll have that posted to our web guide and on our employee resource as well. So there'll be multiple ways to find this recording. All right, and so thank you very much for joining us.